You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast, brought to you by NBA 2K24. As always, you can get your copy of the game by hitting the link in our description. It's cold now in England, BJ. It's freezing cold, right?
Mo, I don't even want to tell you,
It's
Mo. I don't even
freezing
want to tell you.
cold.
I don't even want to tell you what the weather's like here. But
Oh,
you know
no,
what? It's all
don't. I
good.
see
It's
the
all
sun
good.
coming through your windows, but I'm going to stay inside the house.
Yes,
And I'm going to
okay.
stay right here, and I'm going to stay on my PlayStation. The heating's off. The heating bills are too damn high, but my electricity bill is getting run up because I can't stop playing 2K24. Season 2 is almost upon us, if you know, you know. But you know, let's get into it today.
Okay, let's do it.
We've got some off-the-court news. I know you don't like specialized off-the-court, but as an agent who signed one of the biggest sneaker deals that we've seen in recent times.
Oh, I like this topic.
A lot of people don't know Derrick Rose's deal with Adidas. If you want to know more about that, you can Google it. But I got to say, this is how you know BJ is the best in the business if you see that deal. But we have some reports today that Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP of the NBA, who currently wears Under Armour and is sponsored by them, is reportedly nearing an endorsement deal with a very unexpected brand, a brand that you would never really think gets involved with basketball. They got involved with football or soccer, as you would say, BJ, over the summer here by signing Harry Kane, and Skechers are the brand who are after Mr. Embiid. Embiid's been with Under Armour since 2018. I believe he was wearing Adidas before that. And they've reportedly also got Julius Randle in talks as well. And I think Terrence Mann has already been announced as a Skechers endorsed athlete. So what are your thoughts? Can Joel Embiid bring Skechers to relevancy?
Well, you know, that business is interesting here, and talking about the apparel business, footwear in particular, what we're discussing here. And without giving away what I feel is a necessity in the business, you know, congratulations if that's the deal. You know, players are moving and going with companies and so forth. And looks like Skechers now, I think their first athlete was Julius Randle, which is a New York market. Makes sense. Terrence Mann, is he in Clippers? And then now they have Philadelphia. So those are major markets. So you have LA, New York, now Philadelphia. Or reported that could be Joel.
Well, Embiid was seen wearing a Skechers performance sneaker at Wednesday's practice with the 76ers, and he was testing it out.
Yes. So the thing with these companies is it's kind of like, you know, any business that you get into, you know, you want to have a game plan, and it's not just about strategically figuring out a market. Okay. And I'm not saying that Julius Randle is not the player for the particular shoe. However, clearly they've identified markets.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it the market you want, or is it the performance of the player that's wearing the shoe that you want? So I like every player that I have worked with, especially when it comes to marketing and doing those things. There's one word, Mo, that to me stands out above anything else: integrity. The integrity of whatever product you're endorsing, it comes across. And for instance, the greatest pitchman in the modern era has been Michael Jordan. It was the integrity in which he wore the shoe, right? Clearly he performed, but clearly he believed in the product in which he was endorsing. And that comes across. So when you do these deals, I always like to look to see what the match is, because it's one thing to announce that a player signs. It's another thing when you put a budget and a marketing plan behind them to allow the personality, allow the integrity that it takes to be a great pitchman. You know, the one thing that I tried to do, you mentioned Derrick Rose, was, yes, he had signed with Adidas. However, you had never seen commercials and the endorsement of a player at Adidas, unlike Derrick Rose. So the one thing that I would say is I hope that these young people who are signing that, okay, they signed and I'm sure they got 7 figures on the deal. However, I would be interested to see what's the marketing plan behind that to tell the story. When you are in a business mode, and that's why these companies should hire people like yourself and myself, it's storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you get Terrace Mann. What's the story?
Mm-hmm.
But then here's another example. Everybody knows the Derrick Rose story. Everyone knows the Jordan story. So if I told you Jordan got cut from his high school team, you've heard that story before.
Mm-hmm.
So I would hope that these young people that are beginning to do deals and go with companies who traditionally haven't been in the business, that you understand how this business really works, which is it's storytelling. And you begin to tell not just that we have a great shoe, but the story behind the shoe, the story behind the person that's endorsing and wearing the shoe. So that to me is the most important thing. And it's great that we have another company in the business. However, the secret sauce, if you will, is performance. That's the secret sauce. And hopefully that these young people and these players that are wearing or endorsing these products will understand the secret sauce, because I think it's time now, Mo, for the next wave, right? The next wave of who's going to be next that's going to carry the mantle in this NBA. And for all of us to start preparing these young players to understand the responsibility of endorsing whatever's going to be next.
Yeah, well, I feel like on my side, as a Jordan Brand ambassador, Jordan Brand's in the best position right now in the market because we have Luka Doncic, and you talk about storytelling. We just did the Lake Bled colorway, which represents the lake in his hometown in Slovenia. We've got Zion Williamson and, you know, the story behind his upcoming sneaker. I'm going to be putting out some content about that because the Zion 3s are one of the best shoes that you're going to be able to get on the market. You've got the Tatum one, which every colorway represents a different element of his story and his journey. And then you've got a whole bunch of Bam Adebayos, Paolo Bancheros, and even Grant Williams is part of the Jordan family now. Shout out to Grant Williams. But I think Jordan Brand's positioned very well. I think Nike's positioned very well. I'm going to ask you about them in a sec and a particular player that you love talking about. But on Skechers, it's interesting to me that they went to identify the markets, as you said, and they went for Julius Randle instead of trying to throw a bag at Jalen Brunson, who seems to be more of maybe I'd say the people's champion over there in New York, turning things around for their team ever since you joined. But what I wanted to ask was with Joel Embiid, he has such an interesting story, you know, obviously coming from Cameroon, playing basketball late in his life. He's got a fantastic story, and I think a lot of people know it now. But Under Armour didn't capitalize on that. And I say it with respect. I don't think I saw any person ever wearing Joel Embiid's Under Armour sneakers. I don't think I even saw them in a store. Big men can't sell shoes is historically what they say. Do you believe this to be true? And if not, what do you expect to see from Skechers in terms of this rollout for Joel Embiid?
Well, I find today's market fascinating because I'm in a constant learning phase, right? I consider myself a life learner. Traditionally, you are correct. Bigs haven't sold. And the reason Bigs hasn't sold because, Mo, it's hard for you and I at our size to look at, you know, the late great Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Shaquille O'Neal or Yao Ming and say, hey, that's how I want to play the game.
I mean, having said that, when I was a kid, I grew very early and then I stopped growing, unfortunately. But because I was bigger than most other kids my age, the first sneaker that I got that was a player sneaker was a pair of Tim Duncan's sneakers. A friend, an older friend had an old pair he let me have. And then the first pair that I bought were the Dwight Howard's, his second sneaker, because I was bigger than the other kids and I wanted to play in the post and play like a big man. So I get what you're saying. But unfortunately, I was misguided in thinking I could play like Dwight Howard.
So most of us, unlike Mo, most of us
and to this day, I still want to play the 5.
Yes, I mean, but most of us want to get on the perimeter and play and dribble. And
you do the dribbling,
shoot fadeaway. You know, most of us would identify with Steph Curry or Allen Iverson or Derrick Rose or John Moran or whatever, those type of players. You know, those athletic wing players. And So traditionally, you're right, Mo. Like that has been a thing that, at the first one of the first players in recent, or not say recent, but as a youth was Dr. J. He kind of captured the imagination.
Was that with Converse?
Yes, that was Converse. That's correct.
And then they had Bird and Magic and
They had
McHale.
Bird, they had Magic, Isaiah Thomas, and then
Larry Bird rapping in a commercial.
yes, and then all of a sudden there was another player, this guy Jordan, coming around with Nike, and then he captures the imagination, and he's still running strong in his business. And Nike has done probably or arguably as good of a job as anyone in doing it. So I think when you start, what you're seeing now, Mo, is the next wave of players, and I always fall back, and I somehow I always get here, is the game is players are getting taller. And as these players are getting taller, we're beginning to see truly a positionless game. And now we're seeing tall, very tall people, 7 foot and above, start playing like small players that traditionally played, like John Stockton and smaller point guards, that will play. So now you're going to see a player like a Zion, for instance. He's not 7 foot, but he
plays above the rim.
He plays above the rim, and he has a body type that you're going, wow, like he's such a unique player when you watch him, because he's, the only player that comes to mind recently that played similar to him would be like a Charles Barkley, like big, athletic, kind of power.
But
finesse,
even Charles wasn't like throwing down 360 windmills like Zion.
Charles was pretty good. And I saw Charles when he was in college. Charles was pretty athletic.
Yeah, they didn't have the internet though, so the world didn't know.
Yes. Well, I would say this. Charles was every bit the athlete. I will say I think Zion's second jump may be better than Charles, but Charles was as good as I've seen as far as an athlete ability to take the ball full court and do all the things that you're seeing players like Zion or body types do. So we've seen these type of players before. It's just going to be fascinating now how you're going to, it takes more, Mo, than just performance. That's the secret sauce. However, you need personality. We just talked about a player, Charles Barkley. When Charles had his signature shoe, it was a very popular shoe. Part of it was because of his game, but also part of it was because of his personality. Charles is a very, very charismatic. He is truly one of the unique personalities that's come into this league.
And they brought that back as a retro now, and it's pretty popular.
Absolutely, yes. And so I think it's a combination of things. George, interesting character. Allen Iverson, for instance, at Reebok, very interesting. And the late Kobe Bryant. He's it takes a lot. It takes a lot to do that.
Also, like the marketing strategy, like Shaq sold loads of shoes by selling them at a lower price point with the Shaq brand in Walmart and whatnot, and he really disrupted the industry with that.
So Shaq was another guy who understood. He understood where the market was at. There were other athletes at a different price point than him. And if I remember correctly, Stephon Marbury,
the Starbury,
came into the business at a lower price point. Mm-hmm. So there's a market here, but there is a responsibility that the athlete has to understand the business and who their market and who they're targeting and what they're trying to do. So I remember when Shaq came in, I thought that was a great strategy. And he, again, understood where the market was at. He targeted that market, give him great. I thought it was a great strategy by him. He had a really quality shoe. And he's another guy. He was a big man. However, he sold a lot of shoes because he understood the business when he came out with that Shaq shoe. And that was a great strategy by him.
And congratulations to him. He's now the president of Reebok, and Allen Iverson's the vice president. And they just signed Angel Reese, the female college player. So they're making waves in their own right. But, talking about bigs not being able to sell shoes in a traditional sense, Nike have got Victor Wembanyama. Mm-hmm. They've got Giannis, and the Giannis shoes do really well, and he's 7 foot. And now they've got Wemby. Do you think a Wemby sneaker is going to perform well in the market, assuming it's at the same price point as most elite performance shoes?
I do.
No one can relate.
And here's why. Here's why I think it's going to sell. Mo, we're in this age of social media, and I'm technologically challenged, to say the least. But now when you think of Wembanyama's story, right? If I remember, hopefully this is correct. I think his father is Congolese, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and his mom is French. So when you start looking at the markets that's available, Mo, and you look at the billions of people, billions, I say it with a B, right? There's billions of people on the continent of Africa, and there's how many billions of people on the continent in Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the people that Wembanyama has access to with streaming, Mo, now it just becomes, you're looking at an opportunity to touch and get into markets that you traditionally had no connection to, right? So, Victor in particular, not only is the French an important market to any shoe company, but you have all of Europe now. I mean, Mo, like all of Europe, right? How many people would you say are how many people would you say are if you said the population of Europe?
750 million.
Okay. So you're closing in on 1 billion people there, and you have probably 1.5 billion people on the continent of Africa?
1.2 billion in Africa.
Yes. Okay. So you're basically looking at 2.5 billion people that will have some level of connection to this young man. Well, Mo, just by the math alone, let's say 5%.
Yeah.
Let's just say 5% says, oh yeah, I've heard of him. Well, that's a staggering number. So this young man's true potential, and when you say the globalization of the game, Mo, we are in the beginning phases of the globalization of the game. And this is just the start of it. So when you say traditionally bigs haven't sold shoes, in the sense of what it was, because it was a national game at that particular time, now it's a global game, and the audience is different. The cheering is not so much of his height. He is from Europe. I mean, Mo, you're going to cheer for Wembanyama, not because he's from the UK. It's because Europe. Like, you're like, hey,
I cheer for everyone.
I don't hate
on any players.
You don't hate, but you'll have a little special recognition.
Oh man, I've been seeing Victor since he was like 13, 14. So I've seen it.
OG, for instance, will have a little.
Hell yeah, that's my dog.
Jokic, you're gonna have a little.
Oh, this is one thing. I said Nike should have released a Jokic Player Edition when he won a championship, just for that month after he won a championship. Because everyone loves.
It's really hard. It's really hard.
It's production line. It takes
all
of that.
It's 18 months to do it. So I get it.
That logo that he has, even if they didn't release the shoe, they should have done some merch or something, because that logo they have on his shoes, where it's like the NJ for Nikola Jokic and the 15 or whatever it is, and then the Joker kind of logo. I don't know if you've seen it, BJ. It's one of the most creative and cool logos that a player has.
But again, when it takes time to do those things. But I think now with Wembanyama and there's an influx of players coming into this league now from all around the world.
So let me ask you.
Yes, go ahead.
Wembanyama obviously is not a traditional big. He can play on the perimeter. Very similar player to a Chet Holmgren, who could also go on to become an all-star and whatnot. He might not reach Wemby's level, or he might even reach that level or even surpass it. We don't know yet. But given that he doesn't have the story and the ability to reach those people on different continents, do you think a Chet Holmgren sneaker would be successful in any way?
I do not. In watching the play, when you start selling sneakers, right? What I have learned in this business is the player that sells sneakers or sells merchandise or is able to move things off the shelf, move product off the shelf, there's this thing called imagination. And when you watch Wembanyama, just in his first 2 or 3 games, my family, my wife, my mother-in-law, my mom, and I remember the game was on. We, as you know, Mo, every Friday night we have, game night here at the house on Friday night. And we had the game on in the background. And everyone started looking at television. It's like, who is that kid? Yep. How tall is he?
Yep.
Okay. And my mother-in-law doesn't watch sports. My mom, she'll tell you, I only watch basketball because when I play. She hasn't watched a game since I played.
She said, if my son ain't there, I ain't watch it.
Yeah, so that was 30 years ago. But she asked me that question. And it's funny because my dad was there. He was like, oh, that's that new kid. And you got to watch him. And my dad is a NBA. My dad followed the game from like Bob Lanier and all of those guys back in the day, right? He saw Wilt Chamberlain. He saw all those guys, Willis Reed and all those guys play. So you could see Wembanyama, for instance. He has a different, like, I got to watch him. Now, I'm not saying that Chet won't develop in that because Chet is unique. Like, I watched him play, I think it was last night or the night before. The 7-footer shooting threes now, but it's not as interesting as what you were seeing Wembanyama doing. He's shooting threes. He's shooting fadeaways. He's taking between his legs. He's doing, Ginobili step throughs on the break. And you're going, wait a minute. This guy's like, how tall is he? He's 7'4" doing this. So Chet is interesting because we haven't seen really too many players like Chet. However, Wembanyama is just taking it to a whole nother level right now. And I'm just fascinated to see what he's doing because that's the whole thing about a player like Giannis. Giannis, you forget, or I forget a lot of times watching him, he's like 7'1". When you see him in person, he's like 7'1". He's big.
Yeah. And I think the Giannis storytelling is so good on his sneakers. When you look at the Giannis Freak One, it had all the tributes to his family and whatnot, to his father, to his mother, to his brothers, and the way they've carried it through the colorways has been fantastic to see. And also his pure athleticism as well. And also the make of the shoe, like the performance side of it affects it as well, because you can't just be a great player with great performance. For example, when Vince Carter used to wear Puma way back in the day, this is before Puma relaunched, the shoes were terrible. Vince Carter himself stopped wearing them because it hurt his feet so much. But Vince Carter on paper, should have been moving a lot of units, but because of the actual performance build of the sneaker, it didn't work too well. So I'm interested to see that. It was interesting for me to see Wembanyama already in the Nike Tech Fleece commercial, because Nike Tech Fleece is one of the most popular things. People over here in London and in Paris, they wear a lot of Tech Fleece. So they straight away put him in a commercial with Giannis wearing the Tech Fleece. And then I believe he's wearing the GT Cuts or the GT Zooms. But I don't think it'll be too long before we see the Wemby ones. And I'm interested to see how those go.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time for him. I think it's just a matter of time. So I think that, Wembanyama is interesting, and you don't want to put too much on his plate too soon. You want to allow him to grow. However, here in the United States, I would assume in the rest of the basketball community around the world, that people are kind of interested to see him play.
The world
certainly,
is watching.
Certainly, Mo, you haven't heard me say this. I'm going to try to make an effort now to go see him play live. I want to see him play live.
You going to San Antonio, or are you waiting him to pull up in LA?
I'm waiting for him to come to LA. I'm not ready to get on a plane yet, but it's close. I want to
give it 2 weeks.
Yeah, I want to see him play live, and I want to see him play against some of the best players in the world. It was interesting to watch him play in Summer League. It's interesting to watch him play, in the preseason. However, I want to see what he's going to do against Anthony Davis. I want to see what he's going to do against the best players in the world with his talent, and just kind of see this young man grow. I mean, Mo, we could be watching one of the greatest players of all time. And that's how I feel about him. He's certainly has the potential and the talent. Now, a lot has to happen, but Mo, I'm really kind of fascinated to watch this young man's career begin, and I think he could have an amazing career. And I'm looking forward to it.
Let me ask you this then, just to talk about Wemby a little bit more, seeing as we end every episode talking about Wemby anyway nowadays.
Yes.
I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and they said to me that they expect Victor Wembanyama to be in the Defensive Player of the Year race in his rookie season. Even if the offense takes some more time and he needs to get stronger, but his pure ability to take up space on the defensive side of the floor, and even like we've even seen him get crossed over and he recovers to block the shot. Do you expect him to be in the race for that award as a rookie?
I expect him, the way the game is officiated and the way the rules are called, and the way the referees will enforce the rules. I expect Wembanyama to alter the way defense is played. Okay. I expect him to be able to, like, you're too young to remember this, but there's certain players where they have to change the rules of the game. Like when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came in, they took away dunking. Think about that, Mo.
Crazy.
They said he was so good that he couldn't dunk. Okay. When Wilt Chamberlain played, they said, well, he's so good, we got to extend the lane out because they had to change the rules. Okay. I expect Wembanyama to have some effect on the game defensively because, boy, he's just that big. Mo, just imagine this, Mo. He's, I watched him block a jump shot the other day. Okay, think about what I just said. He's blocking jump shots. Now, when you see it now, you're like, that was unbelievable. Like if you see a guy block a jump shot, you'll go, wow. Wembanyama now, how are you going to call goaltending? You're like a 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" referee. How are you going to call goaltending on a 7'4" guy? Because he's playing at angles you haven't seen before.
Yeah, because you think about it, he's 7'4" and his wingspan is over 7'4". So he puts his hand in the air without jumping, and that's already 13 foot in the air. And then he jumps, and now he's 15 feet above it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of replay center calls. But so do you expect them to change a rule because of Victor Wembanyama?
I expect him to alter how defense will be played with him, because I expect him to be an all defensive player. I expect him to be a first team all defensive player
in his rookie season.
No, not in his rookie season.
Okay.
And the reason that is because he hasn't been around the league. He doesn't know the rules yet. Like he's just doing this. He's just doing this, instinct. Having fun. Yeah. He's like, okay, I'm big, I'm tall. This guy's trying to dunk on me. Boop, I block it. This guy's taking a mid-range shot, and I just raise my hand and I block it. He's just doing things now. You go, like I saw him block a shot the other day. A guy beat another player, and he just blocked it with two hands. I was like, I've never seen that before. Like he just literally put both of his hands in the air and blocked it. So I was like, okay, I expect the NBA coaches, once he makes a round or two in the NBA, to say he'll have an unfair advantage because he's so unique that they're going to have to change the rule to give them the spacing. Because if you allow him to, imagine this. And I have to put my guy in here because I love him as a defensive player. Rudy Gobert has been defensive player of the year here. How many years? What, two or three? Okay. Okay. When they play in FIBA, I was just talking to USA Basketball 2 days ago, and I was asking them about the rules because I kept thinking to myself, what are you guys going to do to get Rudy Gobert and Wembanyama away from the basket? Because they don't have to, like in the NBA game.
Yeah. They can just stay at the hoop.
They can just stay right there. Everything. So everyone is like, think about this. You have to beat Rudy Gobert and Wembanyama. Like, it's a different game. So I think the game will have to change to allow these players, because they're getting bigger, to open up the game. Now, the three-point shooting is what has created the space in the game. However, Wembanyama can move his feet. Doesn't matter if he gets switched on to Steph Curry. It doesn't matter now with him. Now, Rudy Gobert, it still matters. Wembanyama, it doesn't matter. So I think he will do something. I don't know, because I've never seen this before. But I'm interested to see if he could really change the game to where they say, hey, man, we got to do something with this guy, because you can't put it like this. If I'm a coach, and I've asked a few coaches already, are you going to be running screen roll to try to get to Wembanyama? And I haven't heard a coach say, no, that's not the game plan. Okay. You know how you try to get the switch with the big so you can take advantage? This guy hasn't played a game yet, and I haven't heard a coach say, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Well, I'm excited to see it. If you want to get an early look at Wembanyama, you can play as Wembanyama on NBA 2K24. So hit the link in the description and
What's
get
his
involved.
nickname, Mo? Does he have a nickname?
Wemby.
Or no?
Wemby.
Oh, no, that's it. Oh, no, he's got to catch something.
He wants to be the alien. He doesn't like being called a unicorn or a freak. He called himself an alien. So
okay.
Out of this world.
Okay.
If you want to let us know your thoughts on Victor Wembanyama, let us know.
Yeah, I want him to have a good. I think that's key to being a great player too. You got to have.
You have nickname. To. Every great player has a great nickname.
Who's your favorite nickname? Who's your favorite nickname?
The Truth. Do you know what I don't like, BJ?
Which one you don't?
I don't like when players nickname themselves. Playoff
like
P. Who? I'm looking at you. But I like when a nickname is given by one great player to another as a sign of respect, such as when Shaquille O'Neal gave Paul Pierce the nickname The Truth. I don't mind giving yourself a nickname when you can back it up. I don't know who originated the Black Mamba nickname for Kobe, but that was a legendary name. And Michael Jordan has so many nicknames. Allen Iverson is the answer. Shaq, who obviously has hundreds of nicknames that he gives himself, but he backs it up, so he's allowed to. But the best nickname, that's a tough question, B. The best nickname, that's real tough.
My favorite, right? Like just
the
my
kid,
favorite.
The kid, BJ Armstrong.
Yeah, that's funny. Whenever I hear that, it makes me laugh. It makes my kids laugh, because my kids are like, why they call you the kid? Because my kids.
Because you look like a kid when you were playing in NBA.
My wife can't stand it. My wife can't stand it. She can't stand it. She was like, my favorite nickname, even when I see him to this day, I never call him by his nickname because it's my favorite nickname. But I'm going to say this here, and I know he'll probably hear this. Whenever I see Magic Johnson, the name Magic.
Oh yeah,
if it's ever
that's beyond a name now. Though.
Yeah,
that's beyond a nickname.
It's like, because when I met Irvin, his name in Detroit, in Michigan, was Young Buck. Everybody called him Young Buck.
Okay.
And it just, you just didn't even, he was like, hey, Buck. That was just kind of like the people that knew him would call him Buck. I think today, probably his close friends probably still calls him Buck.
Yeah.
But to the world, he's not even Irvin. He's just.
Yeah. Because when you said the best nicknames, I thought of like Kobe Bryant, a.k.a. the Black Mamba. Paul Pierce, aka The Truth. But the one that I think is also really good is the logo, Jerry West. That's like an immortalization.
I know Jerry, and I'm like, when I see him, I don't think that's the logo. You know what I mean? That's just, that's Jerry. For us who know him, we call him Jerry. Hey, Jerry.
The human highlight film is kind of cool for Dominique.
I'm gonna tell you who has got a cool one too. Is Dream. I like that name.
Hakeem the Dream. That's amazing. Should I tell you one that I think is cool?
What's that?
Big Shot Bob. Robert Horry.
Yeah.
Because to get that nickname, you got to be clutch. You can't just get that nickname.
Yeah. I mean,
a relatable one for me is Charles Barkley, the round mound of rebound.
Yeah, for us, we call him Chuck Wagon. That's the Chuck
Wagon. Do you know what's cool? The glove, Gary Payton.
Yeah, that's a good one. Now, Gary, you know what? When you're around Gary, people call him Glove too. Mm-hmm. Like when you see Gary, when I would see him as recently as at Golden State, I saw him at some events here. I think you just saw him recently.
Just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Glove. People call him Glove. Sean Kemp had a good name too.
Rain Man. Do you know what else? There are some cool nicknames that were rejected by the players. People wanted to call Kevin Durant the Slim Reaper, and he rejected it, which I think is a super cool nickname because he's a killer on the court and he's super slim. My personal favorite is Vucci Mane for Nikola Vucevic. No real reason other than Vucci Mane is kind of cool, but he does not like that nickname.
I didn't know that. I think our friend Larry Bird has a good name too.
Larry Legend.
The legend.
How about the chairman of the boards, Moses Malone?
Oh yeah.
You got Chocolate Thunder, Daryl Dawkins. You got White Chocolate, Jason Williams.
Yeah, those are good. How did we get on this subject? Those
are
good
names. Do you know how good this whole thing without even saying Dr. J?
Oh yeah.
The doctor. Like, come on, man.
That's Doctor has a good name. One of my dad's favorite player is Earl the Pearl.
Earl the Pearl Monroe.
The Pearl. Pearl was a great name. Great
the Admiral.
Yeah, that's my draft. The Admiral.
Yep. I mean, we got onto this topic because this is the best podcast in the world where we talk all things NBA. Yeah. So if you're listening, make sure you subscribe.
Mo, what's your nickname? Mo? What is your nickname?
I don't have one. Like Mo is my nickname because obviously Mo is not my name on my passport.
I am giving our listeners a task. We have to give Mo a nickname. The great ones all have a nickname. The great ones all have a nickname. You tell me, BJ,
what would you give me as a nickname then, huh?
Well, it's got to fit. You know what I mean? Like a great nickname, it's just got to fit. You know what I mean? It was like
Isaiah Thomas called me Mo Money, but I don't think I'm rich enough yet to have that nickname.
Yeah, it's not original enough. You know, you need something that's, when
I was young, it was just Big Mo. Big Mo. But now I'm not taller than everyone else. I don't think it works the same.
Yeah. It's just got to come to us. You know, it's just, it just comes to you. You know what I mean? It just comes, it just comes to you. You'll have nicknames that just fits you. Like, Dream, like Glide, like the Glide. You know what I mean? Like everybody can get Glide.
But that all like rhymes with their names. Hakeem the Dream, Clyde
it
the
comes
Glide.
To you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, like one of my, it was one of a guy, and they called him Big Mo, right? His name was Paul McKeskey, right?
Okay.
Paul McKeskey played in the NBA, big guy, played it for many years. And then I remember when we were playing, and I think the guard name I was guarding, his name was Jay Humphrey. And everybody knew Paul McKeskey was like a 7-footer.
7-foot center, yeah.
Yeah, 7-foot center, his name, Paul McKeskey. And I remember he was dribbling, and he was like, Mosky. And I was like, oh man, I didn't read the scouting report. I remember I was so confused. I was like, like there's certain things that I remember. I don't know why I remember stupid stuff like this. But he was like, Mosky. And I was like
who?
And like I couldn't turn around. I couldn't, because I was guarding the ball and I couldn't turn around. But I was like, he was like, Mosky. And so like a foul or something happened. I was like, who's Mosky? He was like, oh, that's what we call Big Mo. That was like
his real name. I can't wait. I can't we did the whole segment on nicknames without talking about a nickname that you gave out on this show. When you nicknamed Al Horford as the masseuse. I don't remember why you gave him that.
Oh yeah.
But that was hilarious. Why'd you give him that? I can't even remember.
Why did I give him that nickname?
Because he applies the pressure.
Oh yeah, he applies. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
that was funny.
Big Al. Yeah, that was funny. You gotta have a great nickname. So, you gotta have a great nickname. You deserve
listeners can throw us their suggestions. I'm humbled that you want to give me one, but the listeners, you can tweet us your suggestions. Tweet us your suggestions, or
and it can't be the vibe. It can't be, the vibe. That's what he says.
Yeah.
But we know you got to have your.
I want Mo Buckets, but Maurice Spates already took that. It's got to be original.
It's got to be
Maurice
original.
Spates already took that.
It's got to be original. It's got to be original, and it's got to fit you. It's got to be like, it's like that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, that's.
Yeah. Well, let us know. Discord is linked in the description. There's a channel in there called Let Us Hear From You. So let us hear from you. Any suggestions, or hit us on the Twitter timeline. I'm interested to see what the people think. I'm very interested.
I'm interested because you know what? You're ready for a nickname. You're ready for a nickname.
I'm honored. I'm humbled.
I know. I would say Moski, but it wouldn't have been right because Moski. I would always think of Paul.
Yeah.
Moski love. See that's you know what?
What are you doing?
Moski love. and that fits you, Mo.
I mean, we'll see. We'll leave it to the people. We'll see. That's been another episode of the Hoop Dreams podcast. The only podcast in the world where you're getting jokes like this live on the show.
Yeah, I might, AKA ML Moski love. It's all love, kid.
All right, man. It's
there
all
you
love
go.
every time.
It's all love, kid. You get it?
I hear it, bro. Appreciate you as always, BJ. Appreciate each and every one of you who tuned in today. That's been another episode. Hope you enjoyed the little deep dive into the sneaker business and talk about Wemby and then some nicknames. Where else do you get content like this? Nowhere else.
Yes.
That's why you need to subscribe. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff. Stay locked in, and most importantly, get buckets.